All right, good morning, everybody. So I just have a question I wanted to start with. Have any of you, especially when you were younger, had any problems with somebody over email or instant messaging? I know that was really big when we were younger, because you misinterpreted a message that somebody was trying to tell you. Okay, well, I'm going to be looking at media richness theory, which sort of explains why misinterpretations like this happen. So first I'll go over what media richness is, the background of the theory, research in the theory, how the theory applies to my topic, my conclusion, and then if you guys have any questions. So Zaramba defines media richness as the medium's capacity to change understanding. If a medium is rich, then it has a better chance of reducing uncertainty and then can therefore possibly change understanding of the message. So a medium's richness is dependent upon three things: opportunities for immediate feedback, presence of multiple communication cues, and the ability to tailor a message to personal circumstances. Dennis and Kinney, in an article they wrote, argue that performance improves when team members use richer mediums for tasks. So Cooper and Kahai had said that immediate feedback allows for rapid communication between both members communicating, which means that there is a rapid reinterpretation and clarification of the messages between the sender and receiver. There are two types of immediate feedback. There's concurrent feedback, which happens simultaneously, which means the receiver would nod their head to the sender to indicate that they understand. And then there's sequential feedback, which occurs when the receiver would interrupt the sender to let them know that the message is being understood. So according to Vickery, the presence of multiple communication cues refers to the number of ways that information can be communicated between both parties communicating. Zaramba had said that the more communication cues there are when a person is communicating, the greater chances there are of reducing uncertainty. So there are two types of multiple communication cues: verbal, which is obviously represented linguistically, and nonverbal, which is appearance, eye contact, facial expressions, body language, and things like that. Dennis and Kinney had also said that verbal and nonverbal cues can be used to emphasize important points, display acceptance, and invoke dominance. Zaramba had said that the ability to tailor a message to personal circumstances means that one-on-one, face-to-face meetings are more likely to tailor to somebody's personal circumstances rather than a broadcasted email, because a broadcasted email can be tailored to one person because the receiver is a large, diverse group of people. Written general is less likely to tailor to personal circumstances unless it's a personal email or memo. So media richness theory was created by Richard Deft and Robert Langle. Those are their pictures down there. Richard Deft is a professor of management at the Grad School of Management at Vanderbilt University, and Robert Langle is the Associate Dean of Education at the University of Texas at San Antonio. Together they established the media richness theory in 1983. And in their original article about media richness theory, they had said media richness theory was created to argue that organizational success is based on the organization's ability to process information of appropriate richness, to reduce uncertainty, and to clarify ambiguity. So this is the media richness scale. It came from their initial article, Deft and Langle's initial article, and this is kind of the updated version of it, because their original one was made in 1983. So the first, going from richest medium to leaner mediums, would be face-to-face, video conferencing, telephone, two-way radio, written address documents, which would be emails, and unaddressed documents, which are things like pamphlets and brochures. So in research, media richness looks to test the theory that more communication cues, the richer the media, and the use of richer media will lead to better performance for equivocal tasks. And some of the case studies that have been done with media richness is Cooper and Kahai's impact on decision making due to message clarity, Martin Shepard's how media richness affects distance education, and performance increases as multiplicity of cues increases, which was Dennis and Kinney. So how I'm going to be applying media richness theory to my topic, I'm going to be looking at the Global Investment Bank General Society. They're located, their headquarters are in France. And in 2008, they actually had one of their employees over in Paris. He was in charge of making investments for the company. And he ended up making a lot of bad investments. No one's really sure if it was on purpose or on accident. And he ended up losing the company 6 million euros, which is the equivalent to $10 million. So I was saying that during a time of crisis, especially within a global organization, at least I would assume that rich mediums are essential because you do need immediate feedback and immediate responses during a time like this. During my research, I want to look at how well media richness theory applied to the efficiency of the company handling this crisis. And the main communication I'm going to be looking at was the communication between the Paris branch and the New York branch. I'm going to be interviewing my dad because he's worked for the company for over 30 years. He's worked for the New York branch. And some of the questions I'm going to be asking him are, what types of mediums were used between the Paris and New York branches when the crisis first happened, and which types of mediums were most useful and effective during the crisis? Was there ever a time during the crisis in which communication was difficult because of the types of mediums that the employees were using, and if so, did this have any effect on the timeliness of responses? And the last question, I know the company had stopped doing a lot of business trips because the cost, they were doing a lot of video conferencing, so I was wondering if they started doing more face-to-face meetings between Paris and New York after this crisis took place. So my conclusion, Dennis and Kinney had said that the main theory of media richness is that, the main argument is that performance improves when team members use rich medium for tasks. And in order for a medium to be rich, it must have the ability for immediate feedback, multiple communication cues, and the ability to tailor to personal circumstances. And in my upcoming research, I will be very interested to see how the media richness theory affected the SocGen crisis. Is there any questions?
When you talk about Daft and Langle,
Yeah.
when they come up with their theory, how is it that they established that?
How they established the theory?
Yeah, what happened? Did they get hit by a
Well,
stroke?
they had been wondering, because they were both teachers, and
Yep.
they had been wondering like how different people communicate over like the efficiency, like over the telephone, and I guess it was basically over their experience because they talked a lot about how it was during their teaching that they wanted to come
Did they
up
run
with this.
experiments? Did they run surveys?
They
or is
didn't,
it all
I
just
didn't see any actual experiments. It was basically just the initial article
based
was
on their
just
observations?
based on their observations.
Okay. When you looked at your case studies involving media richness, what was the studies? You have 3 of them, it looks like.
Yeah.
What were they examining?
Well, the one I thought that was most interesting was Martz and Shepard. They did how media richness affects distance education, and like that's just online school pretty much.
Okay, so they looked at
They looked
online.
at online schooling, and it was over a survey, and it had like I think like 65 questions, and they interviewed like 150 people, and they were from all different countries, so there was a wide variety.
And what did they find?
They found that students, because it's all video conferencing
Yep.
with teaching, and they found that the more that teachers reached out and were more personal and like emailed each individual student, the teaching was more effective, and they ended up doing better in the class because of it. That's the
Okay,
one
you
I
know
found most
Northeastern's
interesting.
opened up a satellite school.
Yeah, I actually did hear
That's
that.
all right. What was the second one?
The second one,
Martz and Shepard.
that was how.
I
media
mean
richness-
Cooper and Kai.
Oh, the impact on decision making. They had like I think it was 150 students, and they put them in different groups. Like they started out with I think there was 4 to a group, and each group was different. Like each group one group communicated over like a chat room type of thing. The other group communicated over email. The other one was video conferencing, and the 4th group was like face to face. And they had to discuss and come up with different views on like underage drinking on campus and things like that. And they found that that people agreed more with each other and were able to like speak their opinion better when they weren't being seen by other people. So when like it was more anonymous, people were more inclined to speak what they actually thought.
So actually lower richness increased.
Yeah, that's what they found with that one.
And then finally, the performance increases multiplicity. Is that the Dennis and Keeney?
Yeah, hold on. Oh, this was the one where they it was all video conferencing and they had one direct video and then one was a delayed video, so it was like you couldn't one person could communicate at a time about a certain topic, and they found that there was more they had to make decisions on time. This is what they had to do. They had to make decisions on in their class top 5 students for the business school, and they found that when there was more direct connection, people were more there was more communication rather than when there was delayed responses.
Okay, and then finally, you're looking at media richness within this company within a time of crisis.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see what the normal lines of communication, the normal networks.
Yeah.
You might want to ask questions on what do the individuals prefer to communicate regularly: telephone, email, Skype, letter. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? I almost thought you had one there, Francesca. Very good, Lizzie.